sexual and reproductive health and rights in the SDGs agenda. Now we move to the second speakers. I would like to invite Ms.Manasa Priya. She will give us a presentation on meaningful youth participation and inclusion. Thank you.
Hello, I am Manasa Priya Vasudevan from the YP Foundation, India. And I do not have a presentation with me, so you are just going to have to look at me and patiently hear what I have to say. I am definitely not going to talk about why it is important to involve youth in meaningful ways in global agenda setting with the lot of you, because then I would be preaching to the choir. The choir in this room, which constitutes mostly of youth members and, well, non-youth members who I shall politically correctly refer to as allies, right? Okay, so what I will talk about, though, is strategies on what we can say to people outside of this room for the next 3 days on why it is important to involve youth meaningfully in global agenda setting, to deconstruct the catchphrase that has become youth meaningful participation, and also to become the political subject that is youth, and to enact this subject actively in all policy spaces that we occupy. Let's begin with recalling the youth journey to meaningful participation so far. We've come a long, long way from when youth was seen but not heard, when youth was sprinkled across existing agenda like garnish, when youth were layered onto existing agenda to fulfill gaps in the last mile outreach, such as flash mobs, door-to-door dialogue, online campaigning. Oh wait, some of this still happens, right? Some of these models are too familiar because some of these models still exist. It is not that these models of youth engagement are, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them per se, except that they do not really allow for youth to meaningfully engage with or substantively engage with the designs or the foundations of these policy-making processes. So going forward, I'm going to constantly kind of use this refrain: the politics is in the design. And that is why it is most important to involve youth right from the planning and the design phases of policy making, right? Let's examine the most commonly stated reasons for why youth should be engaged meaningfully in policy spaces and global agenda setting. The first most commonly stated reason is that youth are the future. Youth are in fact the ones that are going to inherit this world, right? And I'm sure many of you have heard these phrases. They're used still today. And my response to that would be, where is youth today? Does youth live on a different planet till we inherit this very planet that we live in at the very moment? We are part of the problem today. Youth are some of the most vulnerable victims right now. We are more than tomorrow's beneficiaries. We are today's citizens. We're today's right holders. We are today's subjects. The second most commonly stated reason as to why it is important to involve youth in global agenda making processes and agenda setting processes is the youth bulge. Around 2008 and 2010, when we grew in numbers in most developing countries, when nations lost count of how many youth were in their countries, youth suddenly began to count. Our stakes in this planet literally rose. Well, this is just not a strong enough case for why our participation in the 2030 agenda is suddenly really important. Because this means that if tomorrow or by 2030 there is a slight fluctuation in the youth bulge, does that mean that our entitlement to participate in these processes would subside? That opportunities for participation meaningfully in policy-making processes would suddenly decrease? The bulge may have granted youth the legitimacy, but our vulnerability to violence, to sexual abuse, to rape, to early enforced marriage, to HIV, to tuberculosis, to asthma, to drug addiction, to climate change, to underemployment predates the youth bulge. We matter not only because we are a significant demographic dividend, we matter because we are citizens of this world today. Fortunately, times are changing though. There is strong support from civil society organizations and INGOs to encourage our participation in global agenda setting. In some places, there is even strong political will to engage youth more meaningfully in policymaking processes. We are beginning to occupy, we are beginning to be seen, we are beginning to be heard, but our journey doesn't stop now. Our journey of claims making in these spaces doesn't stop now. Remember, the politics is in the design. Most of these spaces that we are invited to occupy presuppose a homogeneous youth identity based on the expertise of others and not on the lived experiences of youth themselves. The question then remains, are these spaces designed to optimally engage youth to their fullest potential? Because we are not here to fit comfortably into a mold that has already been typecast for us. We are here to explode that very mold because its one size does not fit each and every one of us youth delegates. I remember being at the high-level political forum last year, and after I was done speaking, I was advised in front of all to speak in a more youthful language, to speak in a manner that was more accurate in representing youth. Representing this youth constituency that I was standing in for. And I was fairly confused because as youth, we are young in age, that we are. We are a reservoir of energy, yes. We are technically savvy or advanced, yes. But we are also capable. We have agency. We think critically. We can lead. We are the evidence. We are poor. We are rich. We are colored, we are white, we are women, we are trans, we're lesbian, we're pansexual, we're queer, we're intersectional, we're political, we have voices, we will talk, and we must speak, or we will be spoken of. Thank you.
Thank you for the fascinating presentation and speak. Thank you so much, Manasa.